JT from the Game Crafter, and this video is about Component.Studio. Component.Studio is a tool that basically combines Photoshop and Excel together into a single program to allow you to design a single component like a card, a deck, or a card, chits, tiles, that sort of thing. But once you've designed one, the system will automatically design all of the other ones that you have for you. You can check out Component.Studio at Component.Studio in your web browser. This video is about Component.Studio 2, which is what we're working on right now to replace Component.Studio 1. It's got all kinds of new features, so if you're interested in that sort of thing, hang out and learn a little bit. Today, we're going to be talking about text in Component.Studio 2. And I'm looking for feedback on literally everything I'm about to show you. I want to hear what your thoughts are. So in Component.Studio 1, you really could only control you could have two types of text in a field. There was alternate text, so it was the basic text and the alternate. Now you can control all kinds of crazy things, font size and color and drop shadow and strokes and all that kind of stuff, but you could still just have two in a single field. So I wanted to remedy that with Component.Studio 2, and I've made it ultra flexible. And so I'd like to demonstrate what I've come up with and see what your thoughts are on how this would work. So to start with, I'm going to ignore fonts right now because fonts will be loaded before you get into the designer. You're going to choose a palette of fonts that are interesting to you because sorting through thousands of fonts is a slow, tedious process and highly memory intensive because we'll have to display all of that. So we don't want to do that inside the designer. The designer is already memory intensive. We're going to do that outside. So once you've narrowed it to a selection of 3, 4, 5 fonts, whatever your project needs, then you can come into the designer and see what's going on. So the first thing we're going to do is click on this A button right here. This is the style manager. So if I bring this up, these are the styles that I've just got in my copy here. You can put in whatever styles that you want. So let's just look at them. I have 3 fonts loaded and I've created a style for each one of them. So I've got this Bebas New font here. Here's an example of what that looks like. If we look down to Inco, I've loaded that font as well. And then we also have Tego here. And there's an example of that font. So you can see already that the style manager is showing you what the font is going to look like. And that's true even if it's not a font. Maybe in this case, I've created a style here where the font color is red and we're just inheriting. By default, your browser is going to use a Helvetica style font like Arial, whatever happens to be installed on your operating system. And so we're going to use that font as our default font. So if you don't specify a font, you're going to get that font. You're going to get whatever the default one was. Only in this case, I'm overriding the default color, which is black, with red. So with the style manager, you can control all kinds of crazy things. So we can do font family, weight is like your boldness level, your size, how big is the font. So the font style is like italics. Variant is like small caps version versus normal. Color you already know. Outline is like if you want to put a stroke on the thing, so the outline of the font is has a color. You got the drop shadow, which you don't have to use, but you can set all kinds of properties about where the drop shadow is, how big it is, how blurry it is, that sort of thing. And then we've got a couple of advanced features here, which I'm not really going to cover today. So you can see that there's a lot of stuff that you can control about your style. So, I don't want to get into too much detail about any of these, but you can use the same sidebar editor in here that you would use in anything else. Like your layer manager. So if I click on this little icon here, it opens up the sidebar, and I can see, for example, the list of fonts that I have in my palette. So I could change this to be that. And so now we're not only bold, but we're bold with this particular font. So we can combine all these together and make whatever we want. We just leave it as inherit if we don't want to set something specific in this particular style. So I'm going to set that back to inherit for now. You can also see that as I'm changing these things, it's making updates to the preview in real time so that you get an idea of what it's going to look like based on the styles that you're making. So let's go take a look out here. Now, this is your text layer. Of course, you add layers up here. Oh, I forgot to add the add text layer, but it'll be just another layer right there, just like boxes and everything else. And there's lots of things for you to muck around with in here, just like in any other one. But the main stuff is going to be in this text section here. So the first thing, of course, is the actual text. If you open up the sidebar, you can see that you get this nice big field to fill out your text in. Of course, your text is probably going to be imported from a data set or something like that. But assuming you actually had text to edit, you could edit it right in here. You can, of course, make this bigger as well. So if it wasn't quite enough room for you, you can have even more. But the bottom line is, right out of the gate, without doing any styling at all, you have text. You can display text onto your card just by typing into the field. Now, to go the next level up, we would, I'm going to call this complications. So this first one, 0 complications. We have no style at all. The next level up from that would be to add a default style. So for example, maybe I choose that I want my text to be red because I have a red style. So then it renders as red over here. Okay. Or maybe I want it to be to use that Beba font. So I set that. And I can choose no style at all still, of course. So anyway, I can set a default style. So that makes it so that you can come in, you design your style, then you set a style, and that's all you have to do to format your text if you want to stop at that level of complication. So that would be complication number 1. So we were at 0 before, now we're at 1. So the next level of complication that you can do is those styles don't have to be just assigned here. You can actually assign the styles directly to the text. And this can be done in your data set as well. It doesn't have to just be done here. So you can design or you set up your styles. So for example, maybe I want brought forth to be red. And so what happens is the system is actually creating tags on the back end that look kind of like HTML tags. And so if I created a style called red, and I assign that there, and I click to update the value, then you can see that now it is red here. And so that's the next level of complication, is that you can assign tags to things. So that we'll call that level 2. And you can put as many tags as you want in here. So I might call dedicated big, and I might say equal should be bold, something like that. And then you can see that all of these things are getting the extra tags that we have applied. You can apply as many as you want. So that's level 2. Level 3 then is nested tags. So what if I want this whole section here to be red and dedicated to the proposition? That should all be red, like so, but big is still in the middle there. So now we've got red and big once we get to dedicated, because it's nested. Red is surrounding big. So you can see, and dedicated to the proposition. So that's level 3, is you can nest tags together to get your desired styles. So you can already put kind of anything you want into a style and just set a default style, but then you're only getting the one style associated. So here, being able to nest, you can mix and match styles together to create something new on the fly. And that leads me to the fourth level of complication. So we've gone through 0 through 3 already. The fourth level of complication is that you can actually modify these tags on the fly. So for example, maybe here, this big part, I can set fill equals green. And then you can see that tag is big and green, even though it's inside of the red tag. I've overridden the color by setting this attribute here on this tag. And obviously, the fourth level is getting pretty complicated at that point. And there are all kinds of attributes that you can put in here. But the point is that you as a user get to choose the level of complication that you feel comfortable with. You can go level 0, no formatting at all, because maybe you're just making a prototype and it doesn't matter. You can go level 1, where you just set a default style. You can go level 2, where you're using tags. Level 3, where you're nesting tags. And level 4, where you are using attributes on tags. And the beauty of this should be that you could start out a level 0 or a level 1 user and work your way up to these other things as you become more and more comfortable with them, or as you have need for these things. You know, not everybody will need to have all kinds of craziness in their text, but that should cover the complications. How do you feel about that so far? Does that seem pretty good? And again, you can define all the tags that you want by just defining new styles. And you have, it will live preview those styles for you right here in the Style Manager. Now, the next thing to talk about are some of these things. There are some properties that cannot be assigned to a style. So, for example, your alignment cannot be assigned to the style. It has to be assigned to the paragraph, if you will. So the paragraph is the text block. And so it's not really a paragraph. It's this whole blob of text. It's not just a style. So that is here. By default, it is left. You can choose to align right, center, and a new feature for Component.Studio 2 is justify. I know there are quite a few people out there that were asking for that one, so it is now here. So you have those, and of course, because all of these things are just text, you can do it programmatically as well. You can set all this up programmatically. You've got your line spacing, which is how far are the lines apart. So maybe I'll add an extra 20 pixels between the lines here. You can see that. Or if we go back to 0, and you'll see that line spacing, maybe I want them to be a little closer together. So I'll put 10 in there. And now you can see it's really densely packed. And that's stuff you could do in Component.Studio 1 as well, but just throwing it out there. Letter spacing does the same thing, except for with letters themselves. So we put some spacing between the letters. Again, something you can do in Component.Studio 1. But these properties can only be done on the text layer. They cannot be done at the style. And then the next thing is my favorite feature for text in Component.Studio 1 is fit to box, because I have all kinds of variable text, and sometimes it's just not going to fit into the spot that I have defined. So you can show the outline, and I can type true here, or I can use the toggle up here. And that's I guess that's kind of hard to see because there's the blue line right there. So I'm going to turn off the blue line. But now you can see, here's the outline of the box that I have defined here. And that's defined, the position of it is defined here, and then the size of that box is defined here. Now, I'm saying I'm showing the outline of the box, but it is currently clearly not fitting to the box. So it's rendering below it. So if I change this one to true, and again I can type it there, I can just flip this little switch here, like so, and you can see that it is now formatting the text to fit that box. Now this is an enormous bit of text, and to keep things fast, we're increasing or we're decreasing the text not by 1 pixel at a time, because it would take forever to render that, but by basically 1 point. So it's 4.16777 pixels, which I realize it's a weird number. But anyway, just trust me. It's for performance reasons. It will resize the text faster. It does mean that we're not fitting perfectly to the box. We're just ensuring this text would fit in the box. It would go way slower if we didn't do it by increments. In fact, in Component.Studio 1, I can't even remember, but it's quite a bit. I think we do it by 5 pixels there. We shrink it, each stage is by 5 pixels. So anyway, you can see that we can do the fit to box in here as well. And so that's just a feature just like any other, from Component.Studio 1. And false. When you have this much text and you are shrinking it, that is going to slow down Component.Studio dramatically. So it's important that your text comes close to fitting the box. So like, don't define a 200 pixel font size and then it's going to get shrunk down to 25 pixels because your box is just too small or you have too much text. If you do, it's going to dramatically affect the performance. And unlike before, in Component.Studio 1, everything is rendered server-side, so you didn't notice the performance difference because we have absolutely massive servers that were doing the rendering. But you'll feel it on your computer now. But the difference is you're not waiting for that round trip from the server, so most things are going to be way faster, doing them locally on your computer rather than doing them on the server. But these sorts of big operations like this, by shrinking down the text, is going to make it slow. So fit to box, be careful with it. Okay, so let's go up here quick, and I'll show you how to create a style quick. So let's just create one. I'm going to rename it here to green. Oops. There. Rename it to green, and we will set the color to be kind of a green color here. And let's go ahead and let's make it small caps. So I'll do that. And why not italic also? Okay, so I've gone ahead and created my little style here. It is now a thing. I can go into my text over here, and I can actually get style tags right from here. I don't have to memorize any of that stuff, so I can hit green. You can see it's copied green, text here green. Now, eventually I would like to be able to make it so you could highlight this and then hit the tag and it would do the right thing. I haven't gotten that working yet. But for now, what we can do is just paste that tag in there, and I can get the green. I'll get rid of the text here because that was just my example, and I'll say now we are engaged, and I've put my green tag right there. And so when I click on this, it'll render, and now it's it's our new font. It is small caps, it is green, and it is italic. So you get the idea. So hopefully that gives you a little overview of what the text system for Component.Studio 2 is going to look like. My last thing here, I'd love to hear feedback on anything that I've shown you here. Literally the whole thing is, it's mostly done, but I'd love to hear what you have to say, and if there's something that needs changed, I'll change it. So, but for this, the last question I have is really about what kind of default styles should we have? For example, I have a B here, which is bold. The question is, should that exist by default without you having to create it? And should it be called B, like an HTML tag, B, or should it be called bold, the full word, to make it more like the rest of Component.Studio, we're using longer names for stuff. So I don't know if it's more important to be consistent or to be long named, so it's clear what it is, or if it's more important to be consistent with HTML in this case, because we're creating what look like HTML tags. Should it look like HTML? Should it be a B tag like HTML is? You tell me, and we'll do that thing. So I have a number of other styles here. Beba and Inco and Tego are my fonts, not, they're the ones that I put in my palette, so they're not going to be in here, obviously. But what about other ones? Should there be like a red and a blue, just so you can easily do that sort of thing? Should there be a big? So this is just a font size of 60 pixels versus the 50 that it defaults to. I don't know. Should there be italics? Should there be the drop shadow? You know what? I didn't show you drop shadow, so let's do that. So right here, I'll just do shadow. Oh, that's a problem. Interesting. So that you get your tooltip about what the field evaluates to, and obviously for a big chunk of text that's going to be really huge. So I might need to truncate that. Oops, and I forgot to put my end tag here. Yeah, let's go in here and edit it. Okay, so there. Now I've put my drop shadow here. And again, you can control the color and size and blur and all kinds of things about drop shadow, but there you go. And we also didn't do one where we had the outline. So let's do that too, blue line. So there you go. So now you've got a blue outline on that text and a drop shadow on that text. You can see how it's all coming together. So going back over to here, what should I be trying to put in here as defaults for people, to give people examples of what how the system works, or just so that you can get up and going easily without having to create any. What are your thoughts there? And if you have thoughts on anything else related to text, I'd really appreciate hearing it. This has been a lot of work to get this part done, the style management stuff. As you can see, it's ridiculously flexible. So that took quite a bit. So that's why I haven't had any updates recently, because there's been, been working on this for many months actually in the background, and then just integrating it into Component.Studio has been a lot of work as well. So anyway, it's finally here. It's working. I think it covers all of the things that I've heard people say they want their text to be able to do. So yeah, that's that. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on this whole thing, and what the defaults should be. Appreciate it. Have a good day. Oh, one other thing. I've updated the demo with this, so you can go ahead and play around in the demo with the new text stuff, and just take it for a spin, see how it runs and whether you like it. Anyway, leave your comments in the comments below. I appreciate it. Thanks.